Today on Family Talk.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Family Talk. All of these daily broadcasts are a production of the James Dobson Family Institute. I'm Roger Marsh with your host, best-selling author and well-known child psychologist, Dr. James Dobson. Now, in just a moment, you're going to hear the conclusion of Dr. Dobson's conversation with Kelly Shackelford from First Liberty Institute. On our last broadcast, they looked at the devastating consequences of the proposed House bill called the Equality Act. Believe me, it is anything but about equality. This legislation would provide fairness, quote unquote, to the LGBTQ community, but in doing so will violate our religious liberties. Be sure to visit today's broadcast page at drjamesdobson.org if you missed the first part of this conversation that we aired yesterday. And if you want more information about the bill, you'll find it there as well. That's drjamesdobson.org, and then click onto the broadcast tab. Well, there's a lot of content to get to today, so let's rejoin this conversation now. Here now is Dr. James Dobson on this special edition of Family Talk.
Well, thanks, Kelly, for being with us again today. You know, I think the program we did together yesterday was one of the most significant broadcasts of the year for us. It concerned the Equality Act of 2019, which has great implications, negative implications, for every dimension of culture. Why don't we start with you just explaining quickly what that legislation will mean if it passes? We don't have time to go over the whole thing again, but let's at least let people know what it was that we spoke of with great passion yesterday.
The best summary I can give you is it would eradicate religious freedom when it comes to sexual orientation, gender identity, transgenderism issues. So religious freedom could not be a defense, and it's in all areas of life. This is a federal law that would cover every state and every area of state, from your employment, you're being a medical professional, you're being a parent, your parental rights, your privacy rights as a young girl, even your Christian school or nonprofit. Not exempt. There's no exemption for religious freedom, no exemption for religious organizations, and it would, again, as I quoted yesterday from a liberal law professor, said it would crush religious freedom, which is exactly what it would do. So it's a very bad law. It has passed the House. It now will go to the Senate. And it's something that really people need to speak up about, because everybody in America should believe in religious freedom and the ability to disagree. And this would take that away and use the power of the federal government to do it.
If the Equality Act passes, and by the way, that title is a misnomer. That's not about equality. But if it passes in the Senate and is signed by the president, churches will be sued or lose their tax-exempt status if they don't accept LGBTQ behaviors. Just think of that. Churches will have this imposed on them. School children will be forced to learn how to engage in destructive transgender behavior. In California, it currently begins in kindergarten. Parents who oppose this bill will be charged with discrimination. Can you imagine having that happen to your family? Private colleges will lose their funding, grants, and scholarship. Public accommodations and small businesses will be forced to allow men and women bathrooms and vice versa. Business owners will be forced to violate their freedoms of conscience, and on it goes. This outrageous bill passed in the House of Representatives by vote of 236 to 173, with 8 Republicans voting with the Democrats. And now it'll go to the Senate. And if the president does sign it, I wouldn't expect him to, but if he does, it becomes the law of the land. This is outrageous stuff. Kelly, tell people who oppose this how they can express their views.
People still have a chance to speak out. They can go to firstliberty.org and get the information on it. They can go to Family Talk, get the information on it, and just communicate where you stand on this, that you're for religious freedom, that this is a really horrible idea, and speak your mind. That's where our country is supposed to work. Now, we'll say this, though, Dr. Dobson, even if, God forbid, this thing passed, we still have a United States Constitution in this country. And we can go into court and demand religious freedom under the Constitution, even if Congress decides to try to wipe it out.
But that'll
through their
take
own act.
years,
It
Kelly,
will.
and by then it's established law. I mean, it may be overturned, but the damage to the culture is done.
We don't want that to happen. But I will say this, at the same time this horrible piece of legislation is moving, incredibly positive things are beginning to happen in the courts on religious freedom. And including
that's this program.
Yes.
Today I want to have you describe the other side, because there are some good things that are happening too. And I want to hear about them.
Well, I'll tell you, as a guy who's been fighting for religious freedom for 30 years, I feel like I'm seeing things happening I never thought I would see in my lifetime, advances for religious freedom. I'm going to say something you're going to think maybe it's a little too bold, but I really do not believe it is. I think that everybody in this country is about to have more religious freedom than they've ever had in their lifetime.
Despite the bill that just passed.
Because of the constitutional decisions that we're starting to effectuate. And why, you might say, why is that occurring? Part of which is because we're putting all these great judges on the court. And as we put these judges on the court who feel like it's not their job to be a politician, it's their job to follow the words of the Constitution and what the founders wrote and what the founders did. Well, the founders believed in religious freedom. So we're now beginning to go back to the very foundation of this country and the religious freedom. And I can give you a few examples, one of which is we had Coach Kennedy on this show talking about the coach who got fired for saying a prayer all by himself after the football game, silent prayer. And the Ninth Circuit, which is a very hostile circuit to religious freedom, ruled that prayers by coaches were not allowed in public if anyone could see them. That was their ruling. So if a spectator can see them, they can't pray. Well, we went to the Supreme Court. And what happens at the Supreme Court, they get about 8,000 requests a year, and they only take 80 cases. So 7,920 times they just say cert denied, case over. And we were sitting there and we got a cert denied, and we went, oh no, this is horrible. And then somebody said, wait a second. Four of the justices have written a statement attached to the cert denial, which is very unusual. And in that they said, this is not over yet. You go back down to the trial court. We want a factual thing, shorn up by the trial court. And they said, but we want to point something out. We found the Ninth Circuit opinion below, quote, very troubling. Very troubling. So they sent a very strong signal when we come back up that they're planning to do something different. But then they did something that really sent shockwaves throughout all the legal community. The last portion of this statement, they said, by the way, they were thinking about the free exercise clause. There is an opinion that's 32 years old called the Smith case, which has decimated the ability to bring a free exercise claim. Almost everybody now, they'll bring a free speech claim and they'll argue it's religious speech because you can't use the free exercise clause. They, in the last portion of this statement, out of nowhere, they said, we noticed in this case that the free speech claim made it to us before the free exercise claim. They said, maybe that's because of this Smith decision that has caused so much damage to religious freedom. They said, but we haven't been asked to review that decision yet. A not too subtle invitation.
And that was signed by or authored by
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
It was Kavanaugh, Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Gorsuch. And it only takes 4 to take a case. And they were saying the Ninth Circuit decision is troubling to us. We want you to go down, come back, and when you do, we're ready to restore free exercise of religion in this country. Really a shocking and very
Is
encouraging
that a harbinger
statement.
of things to come? Is the court moving that much?
Obviously they are. They sent a strong signal. Everybody recognized it on the left, on the right. It became the talk of, because this is rare what they did. They sent a signal. And so that was really an encouragement that I think we can look to and go, the court's changing because we have changed the members of the courts.
Yeah.
And we're putting a different kind of judge on the courts, not a politician who wants to do what they think is right, but a judge who feels like it's their job to submit themselves to the law, including the Constitution, and what those words really say and mean.
That is the most encouraging thing I've heard in years, and I want you to put some more meat on those bones. Tell me what is happening with the court. How many new judges have been appointed during the Trump era?
Well, we're already over 110. These are appointed for life, okay, lifetime appointments. There's already another 130 seats in the process of being filled. And what had happened in the first 2 years is, again, we've never seen a candidate run on this. Trump as a candidate ran on appointing the proper types of judges. He even had a list of who he would pick his Supreme Court justice from. Nobody's ever done that before. And because of that, he's really followed through on this. Not that he's picking all the judges, but he has put people in place to analyze and help him pick solid, proper judicial philosophy judges who aren't politicians, but are going to follow the law, follow the Constitution, and do the right thing. But all the lower court judges that they're not seeing are the same. These are really solid, wonderful judges. And what had been happening in the first 2 years is they had been slowing everything down, the opposition to Trump and the Republicans in the Senate, by requiring what's called 20 hours of debate on every nominee, even if they didn't have anything to say. They're just clogging it up. Well, that rule about a month or so ago was changed. It's now 2 hours, unless it's the Supreme Court or high level. All these lower court are now 2 hours of debate. And so what the system is totally being unclogged, and we're moving through now 5 judges a week. Now you think about this, there's only 130 slots. I mean, that doesn't take very many weeks to completely turn all these courts and put all these great judges in that had been delayed. And if we do that, just what's in front of us right now, that's almost a third of all the courts, and these are lifetime appointments. And this is the youngest group ever appointed. Their average age appointed is 49 years old, and they're appointed for life. So,
and there's been no wavering by the president in the quality that's
no, they've been excellent. Now, we've had to fight here and there about a few that we thought were not good, but overall, these are the best judges I've ever seen, because it's not, hey, I helped you get elected president. My brother's a lawyer. Why don't you appoint him? The old political system. Yeah. It's now, no. We made a commitment when we were running for president to appoint these types of judges. So we're going to get proper judicial philosophy, proper judges who are going to go with what the constitutions, what the statutes say, and what they meant. And so it's really incredible what we're seeing. We were just at the Supreme Court just in February on the biggest religious liberty case of the term.
You were included in that.
Yes, and I looked to my right and saw Justice Kavanaugh at one end, and to my left and saw Justice Gorsuch at the other, and I couldn't have been more thrilled because they were incredible during the oral argument. I mean, it's clear they are supporters of religious freedom in the fullest and greatest way. And this is the case, the Bladensburg Cross case, the Veterans Memorial that was put up. But what happened is it's right outside of D.C., so they eventually built roads there, and the government took over the land because of the roads. And then comes along years later the American Humanist Association saying, hey, wait, this memorial is a cross and it's on government land. You can't allow this. You have to tear it down. And we went up to the Federal Court of Appeals, and I kid you not, Dr. Dobson, one of the judges said the following: why don't we just cut the arms off the cross, because that'll take care of any offense, and we won't have to destroy the memorial.
Unbelievable.
And so needless to say, this was not a sympathetic court, and they ruled 2-1 that after almost 100 years, this Veterans Memorial was now unconstitutional because it was a cross. It had the names of the 49 young men who died in that county, but it would literally have to be torn down. Well, we went to the Supreme Court not only because of this memorial, but 2 miles away from this is Arlington National Cemetery.
Oh.
If they tear this down, they've got to go into Arlington and tear down the large freestanding crosses there. And we knew this is so outrageous that we feel like the Supreme Court does not want to tear down these memorials, and they would not want a decision doing that. And so instead of going for just the win for just this memorial, we said, it's time to stop all this. And we've got judges who want to follow the Constitution and what the founders said. So we went for what you'd say is the grand slam. We said, look, the only reason we're here is not the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't say anything like this. It's because of this Lemon case from 50 years ago. And the Lemon case is the one that said, the Establishment Clause says government shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. In other words, we don't want the government establishing a national church and trying to coerce us to support some national church. But in Lemon, they reinterpreted that, and they said, no, it means all these other things, separation of church and state, and whether people are offended, and all these other things that it doesn't say. But that's led to attacks on nativity scenes and Ten Commandments and veterans memorials and menorahs and all these things that the founders would have been appalled by.
It all comes from that one case.
That one case. And so we said, it's time for Lemon to go. You've got to get rid of this. This is causing chaos, hostility to religion, and it's not what the Constitution says. And this decision could come down any day. It'll probably come down within the next 10 days. From the time people hear this, it's going to come down soon. Be praying, but watch, because it's going to come down. It could have we could be turning 50 years of hostile case law and turning totally different direction into maybe 40 or 50 years of positive case law for religious freedom. It would literally change our culture in really positive ways, all because we would be going back to the Constitution, what it says, what our founders did in this country, and that would really be all because we're putting good judges in place that are wanting to follow the laws and the Constitution. So that's why I say I really do believe we're about to have more religious freedom than we've ever had in this country.
You've been here many times, Kelly. You've never said that.
I never expected the opportunities that I'm seeing now. And with the judges going into the court for long term, with Coach Kennedy's case and the free exercise statement from those 4 justices at the Supreme Court, and now with this case, we'll have to wait and see what they do. But be watching for the Bladensburg Cross, because this is not only about our veterans, which it is. It would be disgraceful to tear down our veterans memorials and to go into Arlington. But it's about much bigger than that, because if they get rid of this horrible Lemon case that has caused these problems, then it will begin to turn our government from being hostile to religion to where religious freedom will be appreciated and supported.
Was that addressed in oral arguments?
It was. In fact, Justice Gorsuch referred to Lemon in the oral argument as, quote, a dog's breakfast. He wasn't too fond of it. And Justice Kavanaugh said something very similar, said that it's been useless for, I think he said 25 years. And the person probably considered the 5th vote on this, the Chief Justice, said, if I was a district court judge, I would just throw up my hands. I'd have no idea what to do. This is such a mess. So it appeared in the oral argument that there were 5 votes.
There's no guarantee,
though. No, that can change. And the more liberal members of the court were already began to petition the others, saying, hey, we might be able to agree with you about this cross as long as you don't do anything to Lemon. So they're already negotiating. And so my feeling is I don't want a 7-2 win. I want a 5-4 win, because I want them to stop what's been happening for years that should not be, these attacks on religion in public. The founders would be shocked by this.
You and I are talking today about something that's going to be news shortly.
That's right.
That people are not talking about for the most part.
No. Everybody's going to be talking about this probably in very soon, but it's something that most people don't even realize is about to happen. And that's one of the benefits to listening to your show.
About that.
Absolutely. I encourage all of your listeners to be praying. This is big. This is about the future for our children and our grandchildren and the freedoms that they're going to have in this country. And I really am very encouraged. I don't know whether we're going to get 100% to where we want to go with this decision. I would suspect no. But I have no doubt. I think we're going at least 10, 20%, 30%, 50%. I know we're turning the ship. And we're going in a different direction that's a pro-religious freedom direction. And so that's the encouraging news. And especially when you see these attacks like the Equality Act, the Constitution trumps the Equality Act. So if we're able to get strong religious freedom protections, we'll at least have something to fight back with and somewhat of a bulwark. But it really is encouraging to see opportunities we've never seen and movement we've never seen in the right direction.
Kelly, we've already said that there are no guarantees when it comes to the court or certainly the Supreme Court, and we're pretty excited about this. What happens if we lose?
Well, if in this Bladensburg Cross case they were to rule, yes, this is now unconstitutional, you got to tear down this cross, this memorial that's been up for almost 100 years. It would be horrific, the results from that. They would almost assuredly go into Arlington Cemetery next. They would go after the large freestanding crosses there, but really it would begin a religious cleansing across the country that I don't even think we could imagine. Every community of every state in this country has religious symbols. They have these cemeteries, they have these displays, and they would now all have targets on them. So pray that doesn't happen. I feel confident that it won't because of the way the argument went, but you never know. It's out of our control. It's in the hand of the justices. If they were to strike down this memorial, this Veterans Memorial that's been up 100 years, it would start something really dark. On the other side, if they uphold it and they say we're not allowing these types of attacks and they begin to move the other direction of Lemon, it's a difference between darkness and light and moving in the right direction for the future of our country.
Well, Kelly, we're almost out of time, but I must ask you the question for the hour. What are the implications of 2020? And you can't get too political about that because we're a 501c3 and we have to stay within those boundaries. But all that you've been talking about kind of depends on the direction the country's going, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it creates some pretty stark choices for people in a lot of issues. But when we're talking about religious freedom, and especially the judges, there's a real difference. You know exactly what the current president is doing with regard to judges and whether you want those types of justices on the Supreme Court, whether you want hundreds of more of those federal judges at the lower courts. And then also in religious freedom, there have been numerous activities with the current president with regard to religious freedom. And so, again, do you like that or do you like the approach under Obama or under another candidate? I think it provides some pretty clear choices when it comes to judges and religious freedom as to what approach the candidate or the current president would have.
Our time's gone, Kelly. I've been talking to Kelly Shackelford, the president of First Liberty Institute. Thank you for all the good things that you do. I said last time that you're my brother. I appreciate you more than you know, and thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Dr. Dobson.
I'm Roger Marsh, and I hope you've enjoyed these enlightening broadcasts the past couple of days here on Family Talk. The Equality Act is a dangerous piece of legislation that we must vehemently oppose. However, it is good to hear the significant victories that we have been seeing on the religious front recently, so I urge you to get informed and get involved in policies that could directly impact your family. Visit today's broadcast page for a link to yesterday's program, as well as more information about this bill. There you will also find out about First Liberty and their call to defend religious freedoms across the nation. Discover that and much more when you visit drjamesdobson.org and then click onto the Broadcast tab. We also urge you to call our offices and request a copy of this timely broadcast. Our number is 877-732-6825. By the way, when you call us, you can also leave a comment or a broadcast suggestion on our listener feedback line when you select option number 3. Now, we love hearing from you, so remember that number, 877-732-6825. As we close, I strongly urge you to listen to Family Talk over the next 3 days. We're going to be memorializing the 75th anniversary of D-Day and honor those who sacrificed their lives for our freedom. You will not want to miss these powerful programs airing the rest of this week right here on Family Talk. I'm Roger Marsh. Have a blessed day.
This has been a presentation of the Dr. James Dobson Family Institute.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Tim Clinton, Executive Director of the James Dobson Family Institute. As we get ready for summer, I want to tell you why now is a great time to partner with us. A special friend of our ministry has provided us with a matching grant to help get us through these tough summer months. Right now, any donation you make to the James Dobson Family Institute will be doubled. That match will remain in place, by the way, until we reach our goal. As a part of this journey, we're going to keep you posted on our progress. I urge you, would you take advantage of this right now? Stand with us here at Family Talk. With the rapid growth of the Dobson Family Institute, we need your help more than ever. Go online right now to drjamesdobson.org, or you can call us toll-free, 877-732-6825. That number again, toll-free, 877-732-6825. And you can learn how to stand with us. Your generous contributions allow us to continue to fight for marriages and families around the world. Our website again, drjamesdobson.org, drjamesdobson.org, or call again, toll-free, 877-732-6825. Make sure and get in on this matching grant, will you? And we're so grateful for your persistent prayers and support. May God's blessings be on you.